In this exercise, we're going to take several graphics and prepare several div tags and put this MATC mock layout together. So on Blackboard, you've found all of the different graphics, and here they are, and just drag them out and save them and have them sitting aside waiting. On this page, it's showing you all of the div tags and the structure and their positioning. So a little bit difficult to see, but what you're looking at in red are the main div tags. The interior, what you're seeing as blue, those are individual graphics sitting inside of the div tags. So if you look, we have 1, 2, 3, just very standard div tags. They're all stacking one on top of the other. When we get to this section, we have 3 graphics sitting inside of this div tag. In order to get this particular middle div tag to sit up next to it, we'll have to do some CSS styling and say float left. This div tag will also need to say float left, and so on. When we get to this particular div tag, in order for it to stop being affected by previous floating, we will put a clear. So I'm going to go ahead and start setting this up. I have a Dreamweaver file. I've already named that. I am going to my insert menu, and I'll just choose insert div tag. These first div tags really don't need any styling at all. They're just going to stack like div tags do by default. So I will click OK. They do show up on the scene with some text inside already, so I will delete that text. Insert image. And I will find, I need a moment to get into my proper folder. And I need a moment to find the correct graphic that sits on the top. Top nav. Is that it? I'm going to try that. Okay. And I need an alt tag, but for now I'm just going to type in something rather quickly. Oh, that wasn't it. Sorry about that. We'll try that one more time. I'm looking for search. There we go. Type in the alt tag. Okay, so I want to make sure that I'm clicked away from that. Ask for yet again another div tag. And I'm not worried about styling it. I'm not creating a new rule for it at this point. Remove the copy that's in here. Oh, that happens sometimes where you get not only the copy but the div tag itself. Well, I guess for now I'll just leave that C in there. Delete that after the graphic is in place. Insert my graphic. Let's see. That looks like the right piece for that puzzle. Give it a quick alt tag. Delete my C. And you can see how the div tags are without even any styling at all, stacking. Another thing that you'll notice is by default the div tags, even though my graphics end here, do extend the full 100% width. Alright, so one more. I'll make sure I'm clicked not inside of a current div tag. It will ask for another div tag. I will look for that particular graphic, which was top nav. Yes. Oops, and I forgot to take that text out. So one way or another, we'll get that out of there. All right, so looking pretty good. Doing the default web thing. Now I'm ready to create this section. So I'm going to create a div tag. This one I know I'm going to need some styling on. I'm going to need to define a width, and I'm going to need to declare that it floats left. So while I'm creating the div tag, I will also put a rule on it. The type of rule that gets attached to a div tag would be an ID. IDs have pound signs, and I will name that left. It can be named anything, but it just seems to make sense that it is left. Okay. I think just because I want to put some styling in here, I'm going to go ahead and put a width in. I also know that this is going to float left. This is not the correct width, but at least it will get it onto our page. All right, okay, all right, there it is. You can see it sort of established itself a bit. And I will go ahead now and bring the Get Started graphic in. Being naughty and ignoring my alt tags. I don't really want to hit return. I want these to stack without any space between. So if my cursor is just sitting right next to that, there's not going to be enough room here for another graphic to sit next to it. So it will automatically jump down to the next line. Resources, there we go for resources. See how that sits up there? And then one more graphic, the MATC logins. Okay, so it's not the correct width. The width of my div tag is way over here, and I want the width of my div tag to be right here. So I'm going to do a little investigation, and I need to find my properties panel. Okay, when I click on this graphic, look at my properties, it's telling me that the width is 186. So with that number in mind, I am coming over here to my styles. I'm looking for left, and I'm just changing the width to 186. All right, very good. Okay, ready for my next div tag. So when you're inserting these new div tags, just make sure that you're not, actively clicked inside of any current div tag or any graphic, because that will nest the div tags, and that is not what we want. So my cursor's waiting, it's sort of clicked out here. I will ask for a new div tag, insert div tag. This div tag also needs a rule attached to it. Because it's a div tag, it needs an ID. Because it's an ID, it needs a pound sign. I'll call that middle. And again, I don't know for sure what the width will be, so I'm going to overestimate at this point. I do know, however, that it's going to float left. So I'll get those two properties in, click OK. All right, and let me move some of this out of the way, and you can see the div tag there. So the two graphics that need to go in there would be, experience photo and click after the graphic to place the experience MATC, the piece that goes underneath. All right. So like we did with the previous column, it's sitting where we need it to sit, it's just too wide. So with some investigation, by clicking on this graphic and looking in my properties, which is hidden, I can see that the width of the graphic is 343. So when I come over to my CSS Styles panel, middle, I will change the width to 343. And then the div tag collapses to the correct size. Okay, so one more div tag. I'm just going to rearrange some things so I can see what I'm looking for. One more div tag. Again, just clicking out of any currently selected div tags. Insert div tag. Also needing a rule, ID, pound, and this one, oops, I don't need all caps for that. Let me undo that and retype right. Just like the previous ones, I will declare that it should float left. I don't really know the width for sure, so kind of just putting a wild guess in there for now. Okay, so there's the div tag waiting for its graphics to be put in place. So ask, clicking on the right hand side of the graphic so that I can place the next one. News. Because the width of this div tag is only 300, there's no way that another graphic can sit next to this, so that's why they're just stacking. It has no choice but to go to the next line. Is it Valentine's? Yes, it is. And then the final one is Wolfpack Basketball. I'm just very quickly bringing those in. Okay,